A metal wanted sign killed me on Earth. When I opened my eyes in another world, the man who called me useless was worth 1,000 gold. I did not know the second part yet. 300 students watched me lift my face from a bowl of ceremonial water. Brant, the richest senior in Northgate Academy, had pushed me. Memories entered my head like a cart rolling downstairs. My name was Ronan. I was 17, orphaned, in debt, and carrying 3 copper coins. The basin is for the crystal, beggar, Brant said. I wiped my face. Good. I was worried the academy served thin soup. The laughter turned on him. His smile stiffened. He looked like a refrigerator with anger problems. Instructor Hector struck his staff against the platform. Ronan, approach the awakening crystal. I stepped onto the platform. Hector held out his palm. The calibration fee is 20 gold. The memories in my new head told me there was no legal calibration fee. I have 3 copper. Then you should have worked harder. My mother died last winter. Death does not cancel debt. He discussed loudly. The noble students nodded, as if he had explained gravity. At the side of the platform, a young woman in silver armor frowned. Her dark hair was tied behind her head. A blue ribbon marked her as a knight of the disciplinary committee. Instructor Hector, she said, awakening is covered by the Academy Charter. Ilara, the committee observes discipline. It does not question faculty procedure. She looked toward the senior teachers. None met her eyes. Hector reached beneath his desk and took out a crystal with a crack through its center. Every other student had touched the clear crystal on the golden stand. Mine looked as if someone had used it to stop a door. He placed it before me. Use the charity crystal. Whispers crossed the hall. I put my hand on it. The crystal flashed once. A pale line of light rose above it and formed 2 words. Bounty hunter. For one breath, the hall stayed quiet. Then Brant bent over laughing. A bounty hunter? At Northgate? He shouted. Who will you hunt? Students who return library books late? Someone in the second row yelled. My roommate stole a sock. I offer half a potato. The hall exploded. Hector looked satisfied. No combat skill, monster bonus, or party support. Unfit for combat. Scholarship, meals, and dorm canceled. Academy rank 1,204 out of 1,204. Brant displayed my room token. I requested his empty room yesterday. He had admitted that my failure was decided before the test. Ilara protested, but Hector threatened to remove her from the disciplinary committee. When I stepped down, Brant blocked me and ordered me to bow. If I bow to furniture, people may think the water damaged my head. Even 2 teachers laughed. Brant raised his hand, but Ilara caught his wrist. The ceremony is public, she said. Remember that. I left with wet clothes, 3 copper coins, and the worst class in Northgate. It was still better than being dead. Rejected students had until sunrise to leave. I hid in a storage room behind the kitchens and spent 1 copper on a roll hard enough to stop an arrow. The old Ronan's notes listed 9 poor students who had vanished after raid lessons supervised by Hector. At sunset, Hector crossed the courtyard, and a red mark opened above him. True Bounty had found a valid target. Hector was level 29 with 42 strength. I was level 1 with 6. The reward was 1,000 gold, 8 levels, and the legendary movement skill 7-step chase. The system named his crimes: 9 kidnappings, 3 victims dead, 5 transferred to the Red Veil. Hugo, the 9th, was alive 1,600 paces west. A red trail crossed the courtyard. Monsters normally gave rewards. Humans never did. True Bounty broke that law by turning a knowing criminal into prey. The crime, trail, condition, and reward belonged to the same mark. Northgate was not peaceful. It was good at paperwork. Accepted, I whispered, and followed the branch leading to Hugo. The trail ended at a locked wine cellar. I tried my remaining hard bread on the lock. The lock won. Ilara found me there. Before she could arrest me, a weak knock came from inside. A student named Hugo is behind that door, I said. How do you know? My useless class? She broke the lock with her shield. Beyond the wine barrels, blood symbols covered an iron door. Does the Academy protect all its wine with blood magic? I asked. Only the expensive bottles. The door opened and Hector attacked. Black chains covered both arms, each link carrying a name. The bounty mark pulsed before one chain flew. I knocked Ilara aside and it split a barrel where her head had been. How did you see that? Hector demanded. Your shoulder moved. It had not. Ilara met his chains with her sword. He threw her into the wall. I ran through the iron door while he laughed, certain I was escaping. Hugo hung from a metal frame inside. Are you another instructor? He whispered. Worse, I am ranked last. Then we are both dead. The red trail divided. One branch followed Hector toward a rear passage. The other ended at Hugo's chains. The bounty was 1,000 gold. Hector was escaping. I went to Hugo. The release lever would tear out Hugo's seal. I broke the lower hinge with a stone instead. Hector escaped while I worked. Alara reached us, bleeding above one eye. You let him go for a stranger. Hector was worth 1,000 gold. Hugo was worth more to Hugo. Good sentence, Hugo coughed. Can we leave before I die? The mark showed Hector running toward the awakening feast. Boris, the dungeon guard, helped carry Hugo. We took the ritual ledger and one broken chain as evidence. Reincarnated then followed Hector toward 300 students. Music filled the main hall. Long tables held roasted birds, glazed carrots, white bread, fruit pies, and enough butter to make my stomach question every decision I had ever made. Director Gareth stood on the central platform. Beside him was Sienna, the president of the student council. She wore a white uniform with a gold sash. Her face was kind and tired. Hector stood behind them. The moment he saw me, the mark flashed. He smiled and raised one hand. Director, the rejected student has attacked the faculty cellar. Every head turned. Brant rose from the first table. He could not survive 6 hours without becoming a criminal. I walked down the center aisle in wet boots. Ilara came on my left. Boris carried Hugo behind us. The laughter stopped one table at a time. Hugo lifted his head. Instructor Hector put me in the cellar. Hector pointed his staff. That student vanished during a dungeon accident. Ronan must be working with whoever abducted him. Then Ronan's accomplice has excellent timing, Ilara said. He rescued Hugo while you were standing inside the ritual room. She dropped the black chain onto a table. The plates jumped. Boris placed Hector's ledger beside it. Brant's face lost color, I noticed. Sienna came down from the platform. She ignored Hector and knelt before Hugo. Agnes, she called. An elderly healer hurried from the staff table. She cut open Hugo's shirt and exposed the red seal. Students in the front row gasped. Agnes touched the seal. Her eyes hardened. This is a draining brand. It has been active for 11 days. Gareth looked toward Hector. Explain. Hector's thumb tapped his staff 4 times. Then he attacked the witnesses. Black chains burst from beneath his sleeves. One struck toward Hugo. One flew toward Boris. 3 crossed the hall toward me. Hundreds of people screamed. Ilara planted her shield. The first 2 chains smashed into it. She slid backward across the floor. I did not have a shield. I had the cracked awakening crystal. I had taken it from the discard box when I left the ceremony. Charity items were still items. I threw it into the path of the chains. The crystal had failed because it could not release mana correctly. It could still absorb it. All 3 chains wrapped around the crystal. Light filled the crack. Hector's eyes widened. Drop it! It was free, I said. No refunds. The crystal exploded. The blast threw Hector across the platform. His staff spun into the roast birds. Brant dived beneath a table. One bird landed on his head like a very disappointed hat. Students stared. Then Hector stood again. His coat had burned away. The black chains were connected directly to red marks on his skin. He no longer looked like a teacher. He looked like a prison that had learned to walk. I needed only 9, he said. The red veil promised to return my daughter. 9 useless lives for 1 innocent child. Hugo tried to rise. We were innocent too. Hector's face twisted. He sent every chain toward Hugo. The bounty mark showed me the completion condition. Break the chain carrying the first victim's name. I saw it near Hector's right wrist, the oldest link, the only one already cracked. I ran. My speed was 7. Hector's was 38. I could not outrun his chains, so I ran toward him. Ilara understood. She struck the chains from the side. Boris lifted a banquet table and blocked another wave. Cole, a young swordsman from Hugo's team, dragged his friend behind a stone pillar. 300 students watched the last-ranked boy charge a level 29 instructor with half a broken crystal in his hand. Brant crawled out from under the table. He is insane. I jumped onto the platform. Hector swung his right arm. I let the chain pass over my shoulder, caught the cracked link against the crystal shard, and used his own pull to cut it. The link broke. Every chain stopped. For 1 quiet second, Hector looked ordinary. Then the names on the chains shone white. The stolen mana returned to its owners. Hugo screamed as the seal on his chest shattered. Light crossed the hall and struck Hector from 9 directions. He flew backward into the ranking board. His body hit my name at the bottom. The entire board cracked from last place to first. No one spoke. I walked to Hector and placed my foot on his staff. "The hunt is complete," I said. The system answered inside my mind. Hector had been defeated before 317 witnesses. His crimes had been exposed. His victim had survived. The reward was approved. Heat rushed through my body. My level rose from 1 to 9. My strength rose from 6 to 18. My speed rose from 7 to 21. Pain vanished from my old scars. Knowledge entered my legs and spine. I received 7-step chase. 7 steps toward a marked target would build speed. The 7th would be 4 times faster than my normal movement. Turning away would reset it. Then 1,000 gold coins appeared inside a small storage space linked to my class. I had started the evening with 2 copper coins. Now I could buy the bakery and use the hard bread as construction material. The hall erupted. Students stood on benches. Some shouted my name. Others shouted questions. The ranking crystal above the platform tried to measure my new level. It flashed 9, went dark, and flashed 9 again, as if offended by the result. Agnes checked Hugo. "His mana is returning." Cole hugged him hard enough to create a second medical problem. Boris locked Hector's hands in iron cuffs. Ilara stood beside me. Blood still marked her face, but she was smiling. Brant removed the roast bird from his head. "This proves nothing," he says as Hector's ledger opened when it hit the floor. A page showed Brant's signature beneath 4 student names. Sienna picked it up. The hall became quiet again. Brant looked at the nearest door. Ilara stepped into his path. "The ceremony is public," she said. "Try to remember that." Someone at the back repeated the words. Then another student did. Laughter rolled through the hall. Brant's face turned the color of the carrots. Gareth lifted both hands. He had the careful expression of a man trying to stand far from a fire while wearing clothes made of paper. "Northgate Academy will conduct a complete investigation," he announced. "Ronan's scholarship and residence will be restored pending review." The ranking board repaired itself with golden light. My name rose from 1,204 to 300. It was not a gift. The board had added the public combat points from Hector's capture. 3 hours earlier, the academy had called me useless. Now the same students crowded around me to ask how my class worked. I gave them the same answer. "It finds people who deserve attention." Several teachers quietly left the hall. That was interesting. I placed 100 gold into Agnes's hands for Hugo's treatment and meals for the other missing students if they returned. I paid 60 gold for a small room and 20 for boots, a plain short sword, and clothes without ceremonial water on them. My remaining balance was 820 gold and 2 copper. Toby, the academy cook, refused to let us leave hungry. He led Ilara, Hugo, Cole, and me into the warm kitchen after midnight. He filled bowls with rich beef stew, soft carrots, onions, pepper, and herbs. He added buttered bread and baked apples covered with cinnamon and honey. For several minutes, no one spoke. Hugo ate like the spoon might be arrested if he slowed down. Toby added another piece of meat to his bowl. "Slowly," Agnes warned from the doorway. "I was kidnapped for 11 days. Hugo said. "I am behind on dinner." Ilara laughed. Without her armor, she looked younger. She had changed the bandage above her eyebrow, but a small red line remained. I pushed the plate of baked apples toward her. "For breaking the door. You owe me a lock." "I have 820 gold. Then you owe me an expensive lock." The kitchen was quiet and bright. Rain tapped the windows. The stove warmed my hands. For the first time since I opened my eyes in this world, I felt that I might have a place in it. Ilara looked at me over her cup. "When you entered that room, did you know you would receive a reward for saving Hugo?" "No." "But you chose him instead of Hector." "Yes." She nodded once as if confirming something important. "Then your class is not what makes you dangerous." Before I could answer, the academy bell rang once. Not the hour bell, the emergency bell. We ran outside. Officers moved Hector toward the prison tower. Students filled the walkways despite the rain. Conversation stopped when I passed. One first year asked me to check his mathematics teacher. I looked across the courtyard. Red marks appeared one after another. One above Dean Marlowe, one above Director Gareth, 2 more above senior faculty members walking beside them. My victory over Hector had revealed the people connected to his crimes. Then Sienna stepped from the council hall. She carried blankets for the rescued students. She gave one to Hugo and asked Agnes what medicine he needed. Her voice was gentle. Her hands were shaking from exhaustion. The largest red mark I had ever seen opened above her head. The system named a reward of 500,000 gold. It named a crime that had not happened. In 4 days, Sienna would knowingly activate the sun furnace beneath Northgate Academy. 7,104 people would die. She looked at me and smiled. "Ronan," she said, "thank you for proving that this academy can still produce a hero." Above her, the system began counting down to the moment she became a villain. I did not accept Sienna's bounty. 500,000 gold was enough to build a street of houses. It was also attached to a woman carrying blankets through the rain. The mark said the crime would happen. It did not say why. Sienna noticed me staring. "Is something wrong?" "Several things." "Can you be more exact?" "Not while Dean Marlowe is watching us." Her eyes moved toward the covered walkway. Marlowe stood beneath an umbrella held by another teacher. He was smiling at us. The red mark above him offered 12,000 gold. Sienna understood that much without seeing it. "Come to the council office tomorrow," she said. "We should discuss the investigation." Marlowe called her name. She walked away with him. The giant mark followed her like a second moon. I slept for 3 hours. At sunrise, someone hammered on my new door. Hugo entered without waiting. He carried a tray piled with fried eggs, crisp potatoes, bread, and a jar of cherry jam. Toby followed him with 2 cups of milk. "The rescued patient is supposed to rest," Toby said. I rested for 11 days. Hugo set the tray on my desk. It was terrible. My new room was small but clean. It had a narrow bed, a desk, and a window facing the training field. The furniture looked surprised to have an owner. Alara arrived while I was spreading jam over warm bread. She placed a paper on the desk. "Your reinstatement is provisional. You must pass a combat evaluation before noon or Gareth can remove you again." How thoughtful. Brant requested the evaluation. Even more thoughtful. The public ranking board outside had already announced it. Students crowded around the notice. According to Brant's complaint, I had defeated Hector using a stolen cult relic. He demanded that my combat points be removed and that I face an approved opponent. His approved opponent was Brant. Ilara watched me finish an egg. "You are very calm. I fight worse when hungry." Hugo raised his hand. "I also do everything worse when hungry." "You nearly died yesterday," Ilara said. "Exactly. I have learned what matters." We went to the training yard after breakfast. Cole waited beside the practice dummies. He had brought a short sword and 7 white stones. I tested 7-step chase. The skill worked only while I moved toward a marked target. Fortunately, a thin red thread now stretched from Hector's ledger to Brant's dormitory. The system had uncovered a connected bounty. Brant had selected 4 students for Hector. He had sealed a dungeon exit while one of them was still inside. He had accepted money and a recommendation to the Royal Guard. His level was 17. The reward was 3,000 gold and a rare defensive skill called Iron Pulse. I accepted. On my first step toward his dormitory, nothing changed. On the second, my legs became lighter. By the 4th, I crossed twice the normal distance. On the 7th, the yard vanished beneath me. I hit a practice dummy shoulder first and broke it in half. Hugo stared at the pieces. Was that planned? The second half was. Cole laughed. Ilara did not. "Again," she said. For 2 hours, she made me run between the stones. Turning away reset the skill. Losing sight of the trail did not. The important thing was intent. I had to keep pursuing. By the 20th attempt, I could stop without entering a wall. By the 40th, I could draw my sword on the 6th step and strike on the 7th. My body had more power than yesterday, but it had no experience holding it. My ankles burned. My lungs hurt. 7-step chase was legendary because it could grow, not because it removed the need to train. The official examiner arrived with 40 students behind him. Brant had demanded that every part of my test be public. He probably expected a funeral, with scores. The examiner set a brass runner on the far side of the yard. It was a training machine shaped like a thin metal dog. "Reach the runner before it crosses 100 paces, he said. A level 9 student normally fails. A combat student may use 1 movement skill. The runner had committed no crime. No mark appeared above it. When it moved, 7-step chase did nothing. The machine reached the finish in 9 seconds. I arrived 3 seconds later. Several students laughed, and the examiner wrote failure beside my name. "Your legendary skill only works against criminals?" Ilara asked. "Marked targets." Hugo pointed toward Brant's dormitory. "Then run the other way." The red trail to Brant crossed the length of the yard. Ilara moved the starting stone. The examiner objected until the watching students demanded a second test. This time, I faced the mark. The runner started behind me and chased in the same direction. My first step was normal. My fourth doubled my pace. On the seventh, my speed rose from 31 to the equivalent of 124 for a single movement. I crossed 100 paces in 4 seconds. The brass runner crossed in 9. I stopped beside Brant's dormitory without touching the wall. That earned more applause than breaking the practice dummy. The examiner stared at his timing crystal. Then he erased failure and wrote an academy record for a student below level 10. My provisional score rose by 40 points. A preview on the ranking board moved my name from 300 to 194. The change would become permanent only if I won the evaluation. Students who had offered half a potato for my class began arguing over who had always believed in me. One tried to sell red ribbons labeled Official Ronin Supporter. He had printed them before I finished the second run. Brant watched from his balcony. When I looked up, he stepped backward. The accepted bounty had warned him that I was approaching. He could feel the hunter even when he could not see the mark. He ordered servants to bring out his 4,000 gold armor. Hugo watched them carry it toward the arena. That seems unfair. It is, I said. Do you have a plan? Yes. Is it a good plan? We will know when the armor falls off. The evaluation arena opened at noon. 600 students filled the seats. The ranking board displayed my name at 300 and Brant's at 42. Bets moved through the crowd. The official odds gave Brant 9 chances out of 10. He entered in gold-edged armor. 2 attendants carried his sword. A red lion had been carved across his breastplate. I entered with my plain short sword. One student shouted, "Did he spend all the bounty on breakfast?" Hugo stood and yelled back, "The potatoes were excellent." The crowd laughed. Brant pointed at me. "You abused a broken relic. Today everyone will see your real level. They saw it yesterday. You are level 9. Yes, I am level 17. You explain simple numbers very well." His attendants tried not to smile. Dean Marlowe sat in the judge's balcony. Gareth was absent. Sienna sat beside Marlowe with Hector's ledger closed on her lap. Ilara stood below them as the disciplinary witness. The evaluator raised a white flag. "Victory by surrender, removal from the ring, or inability to continue. Begin." Brant's sword ignited. The red lion on his armor opened its mouth and released a wave of heat. The first row leaned back. Brant walked through the flames as if he had ordered the sunrise. "This armor cost 4,000 gold, he said. "You should ask for a refund." He charged. I had no marked trail leading across the arena. Brant himself was the destination. First step, his sword came down. Second step, I moved inside the swing. Third step, his armored elbow struck my ribs. Pain cut through me. The crowd shouted. Fourth step, I cut the leather strap behind his left knee. Fifth step, Brant turned. Fire rolled from his armor and burned my sleeve. Sixth step, I dropped beneath his second swing. Seventh step, the world slowed. I passed him, cut the right knee strap, and stopped at the opposite edge of the ring. Both pieces of leg armor fell at once. The crowd roared. Brant looked down at his bare academy trousers beneath a golden chest plate. He resembled a heroic cooking pot. His face went purple. He ripped the remaining armor free and threw it aside. That was what I wanted. The red lion plate hit the ground. A black cloth fell from inside it. 4 names were stitched into the cloth with red thread. Hugo stood so fast that his chair overturned. "Those are the missing students!" Sienna opened Hector's ledger. The names matched. Marlowe rose. "The fight will continue. Evidence will be reviewed later." Ilara turned toward him. "Why later?" The arena became quieter. Brant grabbed the black cloth. I stepped toward him. The bounty mark pulsed. For the first time, Brant looked directly at the space above my head. He could not see my system, but he felt the pursuit. "Stop looking at me like that," he said. That was another rule of the hunt. Once I accepted a bounty, the target could sense me when I came close. Tracking worked in both directions. Brant ran toward the judge's stairs. The audience began shouting. He left the ring. He surrendered. Check the cloth. Marlowe struck the balcony rail. A wall of stone rose in front of the stairs and hid Brant from the crowd. It did not hide him from the red trail. I took 7 steps. The first carried me to the wall. The fourth carried me along it. On the 7th, I jumped from the arena post to the balcony. I landed between Brant and Marlowe. 600 students went silent. Marlowe's eyes narrowed. His red bounty mark burned brighter. "This evaluation is over," he said. "Correct." Brant swung at the back of my head. I turned, caught his wrist, and used his momentum to throw him over the balcony rail. He fell onto the center of the ranking board. The board did not break this time. It changed his rank from 42 to disqualified. Then it changed mine from 300 to 87. For half a second, the entire arena stared at the numbers. Hugo began clapping. Cole joined him, then the first row. Then all 600 students stood. Brant tried to rise. Alara placed one armored boot on his sword. Sienna held the black cloth above the balcony. The student council verifies that these names match the missing person records, she announced. Brant will be detained. Marlowe reached for the cloth. She moved it away. That small action produced more whispers than the fight. Brant looked at the watching students. His arrogance finally cracked. Hector promised me a royal appointment, he said. I only gave him names. Students disappear in dungeons every month. No one would have noticed. Hugo stepped to the edge of the arena. I noticed. Andaran mar arkopsoer stoskreed unsparanser den kramer 60 rindisi baus. Students across the seats began shouting the names of missing friends. Brant covered his ears. The system declared the hunt complete. My level rose from 9 to 15. My strength increased from 18 to 27. My speed rose from 21 to 31. Iron pulse settled into my chest. Once every minute, I could harden my body for the length of one heartbeat. It would not stop a powerful attack, but it could keep one mistake from becoming my last. 3,000 gold entered my storage. Yesterday, I had been unable to pay 20 gold. My balance was now 3,820 gold and 2 copper. The public board added the capture points. My academy rank remained 87, but a new silver line appeared beneath my name. Provisional Academy Hunter. Students crowded the arena exits to see me. A rumor reached the kitchens before I did. By the time Toby served lunch, I had supposedly defeated Brant with one finger, exposed 12 cults, and purchased a dragon. Where is the dragon? Hugo asked. It is eating the 12 cults. Toby gave us bowls of onion soup with melted cheese, thick slices of ham, and warm rolls that did not threaten my teeth. I paid 400 gold into a relocation fund for Hector's surviving victims. Another 120 bought a desk, 2 chairs, blankets, and training medicine. My balance became 3,300 gold and 2 copper. Alara helped carry the new chair to my room. You know, I have a storage space, I said. I know, you carried the other chair inside it. Then why are we carrying this one? Because Hugo filled your storage with bread. From behind us, Hugo said, emergency bread. The new room smelled of clean linen and cherry jam. Rain had stopped. Sunlight reached the floor. Alara fastened a blue committee cord around the handle of my sword. This identifies you as an approved investigator, she said. It also means you answer to the disciplinary committee, which means I answer to you. You learn quickly. Is that why you brought me a chair? No, I wanted somewhere to sit while explaining how many academy rules you broke. She sat. The corner of her mouth lifted. We reviewed the broken rules until the sunlight faded. Near midnight, a knock interrupted us. Sienna entered alone. She placed Hector's ledger on my desk. Marlowe ordered me to surrender this to him, she said. I made a copy first. Why trust me? I watched you give away 500 gold since yesterday. That proves I am bad at being rich. It proves you count people before coins. The red mark above her remained enormous. I asked, what is the sun furnace? Her smile disappeared. Before she could answer, the window shattered. An arrow passed between Sienna and Alara and buried itself in the wall above my bed. A black paper was tied beneath the arrowhead. It showed my face. Below it, someone had written a reward of 10,000 gold. A woman in a gray coat stood on the roof across the courtyard. Her pale bow was already aimed at my heart. Ronan, she called. My name is Zara. Another system has judged you guilty of a crime you have not committed yet. She released the second arrow. I pushed Sienna down. Alara raised her shield. The arrow hit its center and drove her chair backward into the desk. Hugo's emergency bread fell from my storage space and rolled across the floor. Now is not the time, I told it. Zara jumped from the opposite roof. She crossed 20 paces without touching the ground. A silver line pulled her through the air. She landed on my windowsill, drew a short blade, and drove it toward my throat. I activated Iron Pulse. For one heartbeat, my skin became as hard as ironwood. Her blade cut my collar and stopped against my neck. Her eyes widened. I caught her wrist. Ilara struck from the side with her shield. Zara twisted between us, kicked the desk over, and rolled into the corridor. Students opened their doors. With Within seconds, 20 witnesses were watching us destroy the new furniture I had owned for less than an hour. Zara fired down the corridor. Ilara blocked one arrow. I avoided another by stepping toward her. 7-step chase began to build. On the 4th step, Zara cut the silver line and flew backward through a window. On the 7th, I followed her into the courtyard. We landed among students returning from lunch. They scattered in every direction. "Is this another evaluation?" someone shouted. "No." Hugo called from the window. "Ronan has not paid for the last one." Zara's blade touched my chest. My sword stopped beside her ribs. We both had openings. Only one of us had a red mark. It was not her. True bounty showed nothing above Zara's head. She was dangerous. She had attacked me, but she honestly believed she was preventing a disaster. I lowered my sword. She did not lower hers. "Why did you stop?" she asked. "You are not my target." "My system says you will murder 30,000 people. Mine says Sienna will murder 7,104. Every student in the courtyard heard me. Sienna had reached the broken window. Her face became white. The courtyard erupted in whispers. I had planned to question her privately. Plans rarely survived arrows. Ilara came through the dormitory door with her shield raised. Zara looked from her to Sienna. "Your system marks future crimes too?" "It marks real villains." "Then why has it marked someone who is still innocent?" "That is what I intend to learn." Her blade moved closer to my heart. "And if the answer is that your future cannot change, then you can try again tomorrow." "Why tomorrow?" I pointed toward the administration tower. Dean Marlowe stood at a high window. The moment our eyes met, his bounty mark pulsed. The accepted hunt against Brandt had taught me that targets could sense pursuit. Marlowe had felt me looking at him since the previous night. Now black armored guards were closing the courtyard gates. "Because today," I said, "we have a level 34 Dean with a 12,000 gold bounty." Zara followed my gaze. "I cannot see your marks." "I cannot see yours. My reward for you is 10,000. Help me expose Marlowe, and you will know whether I deserve it." She considered this while the guards approached. "A truce until sunset," she said. Ilara reached us. "You shot 2 arrows at him." 3. "That does not improve the situation." Zara returned her blade to its sheath. "The 3rd missed." "It hit my chair," I said. "Then the chair was suspicious." I accepted Marlowe's bounty. The red trail did not lead to his office. It went below the academy. Marlowe felt the acceptance. He stepped away from the tower window and every gate slammed shut. The academy bell rang 3 times. His voice came from the speaking stones. "Ronan has attacked the student council president with an unknown assassin. All students will return to their rooms. Guards are authorized to use force." 600 people had seen Zara attack me, but Marlowe owned the speaking stones. That was how institutions performed magic. They repeated a lie from a tall building until it became official. Sienna appeared in the courtyard doorway. "He locked me out of the council network," she said. "He also ordered the evidence vault emptied. Can you call a public tribunal? If we present 2 faculty, witnesses, and physical proof." "We have students," Hugo said. "The charter requires faculty." Zara looked at the guards. "Your academy has many rules. Most protect the people who write them," I said. The trail led to the dungeon entrance. Boris guarded the iron doors with 8 officers. He held a heavy spear across his chest. "Marlowe ordered me to arrest you," he said. "Did he explain the heating runes?" "No." Hugo stepped beside me and pulled down his collar. The broken draining seal was still visible. "There are more students below," he said. Boris looked at the seal for a long moment. Then he turned his spear and struck the control crystal beside the doors. The locks opened. "I am arresting you very slowly," he said. "Do not make me catch up." 2 guards joined him. The others pretended to inspect the broken control crystal. The red trail descended past the public dungeon floors. We passed training rooms, monster pens, and storage vaults. At the lowest stair, we found a wall that was not shown on any map. Ilara tapped it with her sword. Solid stone. Zara fired an arrow. The shaft stopped in the air before the wall. "Illusion," she said. We stepped through. 31 glass cells filled the chamber beyond. Students floated inside green liquid. Silver tubes ran from their chests into a central engine. Some wore Northgate uniforms. Others wore the colors of smaller schools. Hugo stopped breathing for a moment. Cole found his missing sister in the 3rd row. He hit the glass with both hands. "Sister!" Her eyes opened weakly. The chamber lights turned red. Marlowe's voice came through the walls. "Those students are legally dead. What? Their families received death notices. Their mana now supports the city barrier. 31 failed students protect 50,000 citizens. This is not a crime. It is arithmetic. The central engine began draining faster. The students inside the cells convulsed. Marlowe was destroying the evidence. I ran toward the engine, but the bounty mark showed 31 red branches. Breaking the central pipe would send the stored mana back through every victim at once. Their bodies would burn. "We need to open the cells first," I said. "There are 31, Alara answered. "Then, move quickly." Boris and his guards smashed the manual locks. Alara cut the silver tubes one at a time and pressed each wound closed with a sealing cloth. Cole worked on his sister's cell. Zara stood before the engine. Arrows left her bow faster than I could count. Each struck a control rune. The draining rate slowed from 10 units of mana each second to 6, then 4. I followed the bounty branches. The mark showed the order in which Marlowe had connected the victims. The newest connection had the weakest seal. I opened that cell first. When the student came free, one branch vanished. The engine lost balance. We freed the next student, then the next. At 20 remaining cells, the floor shook. At 12, the glass began to crack. At 5, Marlowe opened the monster pens above us. Roars filled the stairwell. Boris planted his spear at the passage. "Finish the work." 3 stone hounds reached him. He drove the first into the wall. His guards formed a line beside him. Alara opened the last cell. I took 7 steps toward the marked engine. On the 7th, I drove my sword through its center. The machine split. Stored mana burst upward in a white column. The force carried the stonehounds into the ceiling. It passed through 6 floors and destroyed the administration tower's speaking stone. Every communication mirror in the city activated. For 1 second, the hidden chamber appeared on all of them. Citizens saw the glass cells. Parents saw missing children. Faculty members saw Sienna standing beside the engine. Marlowe lost control of his own story. Sienna raised Hector's copied ledger toward the nearest mirror. "By authority of the student charter, I call an open tribunal at the West Square. Dean Marlowe will answer before the city." The broadcast ended. Zara looked at me. "That was public. It was an accident. You have useful accidents." We carried the rescued students outside. The West Square was already full. Thousands of citizens stood beneath the rain shelters. Families pushed toward the healers. Agnes directed wagons with a voice powerful enough to defeat most monsters without a class. Marlowe arrived with academy guards and a stone guardian twice his height. He wore his dean's chain and carried a royal order. "This tribunal is illegal," he announced. "Ronan has sabotaged the barrier. If monsters enter the city, every death will belong to him." The crowd wavered. His motive was not imaginary. The barrier had lost nearly 1/5 of its power. Warning lights burned along the city walls. Sienna stood on the tribunal platform. "Did you imprison those students?" "I preserved lives that the dungeons had already taken. They were alive." 31 lives against 50,000. Cole carried his sister onto the platform. She could barely stand. "Did you ask them?" he shouted. Marlowe looked away. That was enough for the crowd. Parents began calling him a butcher. Students removed academy badges and threw them at his feet. A city clerk read the false death certificates aloud. Each carried Marlowe's seal. Then, Elise stepped from the faculty line. She was Gareth's quiet assistant. She held 3 account books against her chest. "The dean also sold excess mana to the Golden Province," she said. "The barrier received less than half." Marlowe's face changed. Elise had become the second faculty witness. Agnes became the first. The tribunal was legal. Marlowe raised the royal order. "I acted under Director Gareth's authority." "Then testify," Sienna said. The red mark above Marlowe offered a second completion condition: surrender and expose the person above him. For a moment, I thought he might accept. Then the stone guardian hit the platform. People flew from the steps. The city mirrors showed everything. Marlowe climbed into the guardian's chest. Stone closed around him like armor. "A city does not survive through kindness." His voice boomed. "It survives because someone chooses who can be lost." The guardian charged Sienna. Ilara caught its fist on her shield. The impact drove her to one knee and shattered the stone beneath her boots. Zara fired into the guardian's eyes. Her arrows broke, but they turned its head. I took the first step. Marlowe felt the hunt and swung toward me. Second step, I moved beneath the arm. Third, a stone knee clipped my shoulder. I used iron pulse. My bones held. Fourth, I crossed behind the guardian. Fifth, the red mark showed silver lines connecting the armor to the barrier tower. 6th, I cut the first line. 7th, I ran up the guardian's back and drove my sword between two plates at its neck. Marlowe poured mana into the armor. The blade began to melt. Ilara struck the same opening with the edge of her shield. Zara's next arrow hit the sword pommel. The weapon went through. The guardian stopped. Cracks spread over its chest. Marlowe tore his way out, bleeding from the forehead. He still held the royal order. "You have no authority to judge me," he said. I pointed behind him. Thousands of people filled the square. 31 rescued students stood with their families. Every city mirror carried his face. "I do not need all of them," I said, "but they appear interested." Boris locked iron cuffs around Marlowe's wrists. The crowd cheered so loudly that birds rose from every roof in the district. The system confirmed 12,000 gold. My level rose from 15 to 24. My strength increased from 27 to 44. My speed rose from 31 to 51. I received Chainbreaker, a rare skill that allowed my weapon to damage magical bonds and control links. 3 advanced paths opened inside my class. Heavenly Hunter would perfect pursuit. Judge of Criminals would reward capture and prevention. Demon Pursuer would specialize against the Red Veil. I could choose only one after completing 5 major hunts. The city issued me a silver warrant badge. Northgate's board changed my rank from 87 to 12. My money rose to 15,300 gold and 2 copper. I gave 3,000 to the rescued families and barrier repairs. My balance became 12,300. By evening, shops displayed small red cakes shaped like bounty marks. Children chased one another through the streets and shouted that they were Ronin. One child insisted on being the stone guardian because it allowed him to knock over a fruit stand. We ate at a market stall near the river. The cook served whole fish with crisp skin, white rice, lemon, and a sauce made from butter and green herbs. Steam rose when I opened the fish. The flesh separated from the bone with one touch. Toby had sent a pot of sweet onion soup because he did not trust market portions. Zara sat across from me. She examined her fish as if it might have its own system. "You can eat it," Hugo said. "I know. You have been looking at it for 5 minutes." "I am checking for poison." Hugo took a piece from her plate and ate it. "Safe. You were imprisoned because you trusted strangers." "Yes, now I make faster decisions." Alara covered a smile with her cup of lemon tea. Sienna arrived after dark. No guards followed her. She had removed her gold sash. The mark above her showed 1 day and 14 hours remaining. It revealed more of the future crime. Sienna would activate the sun furnace to close a demon gate. The furnace would draw every spark of life from the lower district. 7,104 people would die, so that more than 50,000 could survive. The system showed one final fact. She would understand the cost before she pulled the lever. Sienna sat beside Zara. Toby's soup steamed between us. "You asked what the sun furnace was," she said. I put down my spoon. She looked at the red bounty mark she could not see. "Your system is right, Ronan. Tomorrow night, I'm going to kill those people." No one touched the soup. The market remained warm and noisy around us. A child chased a wooden hoop. A merchant argued about onions. Ordinary life continued 10 paces away from a future mass grave. Sienna folded her hands. The first demon gate opened beneath Northgate 300 years ago. The founders sealed it with the sun furnace. If the main barrier falls, the furnace needs a living source. Why the lower district? It was built over the 7 feeder towers. Director Gareth says there is no time to move the people or change the channels. Marlowe's barrier was powered by kidnapped students. Lara said, "Now it is failing." Sienna nodded. "By tomorrow night, the gate will open. The lower district has 7,104 registered residents. The rest of the city has 52,000. Zara watched her. "And you have agreed to pull the lever." "The furnace answers only to the student council crown. Gareth made me swear the contingency oath last year." "An oath is not a hand," I said. "If I refuse, the demons reach the surface. That is what Gareth told you. The calculations are in the founder vault." "Written by Gareth?" She hesitated. The future changed by one breath. The countdown did not move, but the red mark flickered. Zara saw my reaction. "Can the mark disappear?" "I do not know. My system never removes a future target." "Then your system has never met Hugo." Hugo looked up from the untouched fish. "What did I do?" "You make every plan more difficult." "Thank you." We had one day to find another power source. Sienna gave us access to the Founder Vault at dawn. We entered through the Academy Clinic because Gareth had closed the public buildings. Agnes hid us behind laundry carts. "I am a silver warrant officer," I whispered from beneath a sheet. "You are a young man being hunted by a director," Agnes answered. "Today, you are laundry." The clinic smelled of herbs and fresh bread. 31 rescued students occupied every bed. Toby moved between them with bowls of chicken broth. The broth held soft noodles, sliced carrots, and small pieces of roasted chicken. Honey pancakes waited beside the stove. Ilara handed me a bowl while Agnes changed the bandage on my shoulder. "Eat," Ilara said. "We are hiding inside laundry." "Then eat quietly." We shared breakfast on the floor behind a curtain. Hugo poured honey over 3 pancakes. Zara tested the broth with a silver needle. Toby looked offended. "If I wanted to poison you, I would use the pancakes," he said. "No one stops after 1. Zara lowered the needle. Ilara touched the bruise on my neck where Zara's blade had stopped. "Does it hurt?" "Only when mysterious hunters press it." Zara moved her hand away from the bruise. I was checking the cut with 1 finger. "It is an accurate finger." Ilara's eyes narrowed. There was no jealousy in them. There was a clear promise that Zara's accurate finger would be removed if it became too accurate. I finished the broth. Elise met us beneath the clinic stairs. She carried Gareth's master key and a roll of copied accounts. "The Founders Gala begins at sunset," she said. 2,000 guests will attend. Gareth plans to announce that Marlowe acted alone. He will also declare Ronan a cult agent. "Does he know we have the ledgers?" I asked. "He knows I took them." "Then why are you still alive?" "He thinks I am too frightened to speak." Her hands shook around the keys. Sienna took one hand. "Are you?" "Yes." "So am I." They walked into the tunnel together. The Founder Vault lay behind a bronze door beneath the council hall. 7 locks surrounded a carved sun. Sienna opened 6 with the council crown. Gareth's key opened the last. Inside, we found no calculations. We found contracts. For 18 years, Northgate had sold stored barrier mana to noble estates. Gareth's signature appeared on every agreement. Marlowe had supplied the mana. Silas, the Capital Inquisitor, had approved the transfers. The Academy had not run out of power because we rescued 31 students. It had sold the reserve. Hugo counted the sealed jars on the shelves. There should be 900. Only 12 remained. Elise unrolled a map of the Sun Furnace. The lower district was not the only possible source. 7 towers connected to the Academy Reserve, the Dungeon Core, and the city's emergency crystals. Gareth had ordered all 3 alternate channels cut. "Can they be repaired?" Ilara asked. "In 2 days," Elise said. "We have less than 1. Zara touched the map. "Then we repair them at the same time." 7 teams could reconnect 7 towers. Boris and his guards could reach 2. Agnes knew the clinic channel. Cole could lead rescued students to the dungeon core. Toby knew the old kitchen tunnels. We had enough people. We needed Gareth's control seal. The moment I thought of him, the red bounty mark sharpened. Gareth had authorized the first human experiment 18 years earlier. He had erased 46 students from Academy records. He planned to activate the furnace early during the gala and blame Sienna. His reward was 50,000 gold and the master seal. His level was 48. Mine was 24. I accepted the hunt. Far above us, every bell in Northgate rang. Gareth felt me. Stone doors dropped across the tunnel. Red gas poured from vents in the walls. Zara covered her mouth. "He knows where you are." "Not exactly. He feels the direction." "That is almost exactly." Ilara struck a door with her shield. It did not move. I used Chainbreaker on the glowing control line beside it. My sword cut through the spell as if it were rope. The door rose. The rare skill opened the next door and the next. Each cut consumed mana and left my arm numb. By the 7th, I could barely hold the sword. We escaped through the clinic before Gareth's guards reached the tunnel. At noon, the Academy published my official expulsion. At 1, the city board removed my silver warrant. At 2, Gareth offered 5,000 gold for my arrest. Students tore the notices down faster than guards could hang them. Someone painted a roast bird on Brant's old ranking portrait. Someone else wrote that Gareth should improve his offer because I was already worth 10,000 to a professional hunter. Zara read the message twice. "I am famous for missing a chair," Hugo said. By sunset, the Founders Gala filled the great arena. Nobles sat beneath white canopies. Parents occupied the eastern stands. Students filled the west. Communication mirrors carried the event to the city. Gareth stood stood on a golden platform wearing the founder armor. It was made from white plates and covered his body from neck to foot. 7 colored gems burned across the chest. Each gem held a stolen class. Silas appeared in a mirror above the platform. The Capitol Inquisitor wore white robes and a chain shaped like golden scales. Northgate has suffered an attack from internal criminals, Gareth announced. Dean Marlowe betrayed our trust. The rejected student Ronan assisted him, then created false evidence to hide their partnership. The students began booing. Gareth raised one hand. The founder armor amplified his voice until the seats shook. Tonight, we restore order. Guards dragged 3 rescued students onto the platform. Cole's sister was among them. The crowd stood. Gareth placed a hand on her head. These unfortunate victims have been corrupted by the Red Veil. For public safety, their remaining mana will be purified. The red mark showed his real intention. Their mana would charge the armor. I entered through the western gate. Ilara walked on my right, Zara walked on my left. Sienna, Hugo, and Elise followed us. 2,000 guests turned. The students began stamping their feet. Ronan. 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 Gareth's amplified voice failed to cover them. "You are expelled," he shouted. "You announced that 3 times," I said. "It has not become more effective." Laughter crossed the arena. Gareth pointed at Zara. "That assassin attacked the student president." Zara nodded. "Ha'at-feitreat fikruten darber stumwajiets. Fußparte Nurchens and Gerberens and arbitrage." Sienna took 1 step away from her. Urkinsesh. Elise reached the nearest communication mirror and inserted a copied account crystal. Numbers filled every mirror in the arena. 18 years of mana sales, 46 erased names, payments from noble estates, approval seals from Silas. Parents read the names aloud. Gareth ordered the mirrors turned off. The technicians refused. One removed his academy badge and threw it onto the platform. Then another did the same. Badges fell from the stands like metal rain. Elise climbed the steps. She was still shaking. "Director Gareth ordered every experiment," she said into the speaking crystal. "He ordered Marlowe to fake the death records. He ordered the alternate furnace channels destroyed." Gareth stared at her. "I gave you a home. You gave me a desk beside a locked room full of screams." The arena became silent. Silas's image vanished from the upper mirror. Gareth was alone. He looked at the nobles. They avoided his eyes. He looked at the faculty. Agnes stood at the front with her arms crossed. Toby stood beside her, holding a soup ladle, as if it were a war hammer. Gareth's mouth tightened. "Every one of you enjoyed the barrier," he said. "Every one of you spent Academy gold. Do not pretend my hands are the only dirty ones. They are the only hands inside stolen armor," I said. The red gems on his chest opened. Fire, ice, wind, stone, light, shadow, and healing magic entered his body at once. He rose above the platform. "History remembers the director," he said. "It does not remember failed students." Hugo lifted a speaking crystal. "It remembers them now." The stands shouted the names of the missing. Gareth released a wave of fire. Ilara met it with her shield. The metal glowed red. I used iron pulse when the edge of the blast reached me. Heat took my breath, but I stayed upright. Zara's arrows struck the wind gem. Gareth changed to stone armor and broke them. I moved toward him. The first 3 steps carried me across the platform. On the 4th, a wall of ice rose. I cut its control link with Chainbreaker. The wall fell apart. On the 5th, Gareth sent a spear of light through my side. Iron Pulse had not recovered. The spear burned through my coat and cut deep. I fell to one knee. The crowd gasped. Gareth smiled. "You are only level 24. You explain simple numbers very well." Brant's old words returned from 600 student voices. Gareth's smile vanished. Ilara stepped over me and caught his next strike. Her shield cracked from top to bottom. "Finish the steps," she said. I stood, 6th step. I passed beneath Gareth's stone fist and cut the silver line behind the shadow gem. The stolen class escaped as black smoke. 7th step. Time slowed. I could see all 7 control chains connecting the armor to the master seal at his waist. Chainbreaker cut the first. Zara's arrow cut the second. Ilara drove her broken shield into the 3rd. Sienna used the student crown to shut down the 4th. Students in the stands lifted their class badges. The stolen skills recognized their owners. The final 3 chains tore free on their own. Gareth fell. The founder armor opened and dropped him onto the platform in a thin white underrobe. For 18 years, he had ruled Northgate from a gold golden chair. Now 2,000 people watched him crawl after a belt. Toby's voice carried from the front row. History may remember the trousers. The arena shook with laughter. Gareth grabbed the master seal instead of the belt. He pressed it against the platform. The sun furnace woke early. Red light rose through the floor. The lower district appeared in every mirror. 7 feeder towers began opening beneath homes and streets. Sienna's countdown lost 6 hours at once. I drove my sword through Gareth's seal hand and pinned it to the platform. The furnace stopped at its first stage. Boris and city officers ran onto the field. They pulled Gareth away from the seal while the entire arena watched. The system completed my 4th major hunt. My level rose from 24 to 35. My strength increased from 44 to 68. My speed rose from 51 to 76. 50,000 gold entered my storage. My balance became 62,300 gold and 2 copper. The Academy ranking board placed me at number 1. Then it removed the word student and replaced it with Academy Protector. The communication mirrors sent the change across the city. People in the stands shouted until my name became one long sound. I did not feel like a protector. My side was bleeding, the furnace was still active, and Sienna's mark remained. We had won the arena. We had not saved the lower district. Agnes closed my wound in the clinic while Toby served late supper. He made chicken soup thick with cream, mushrooms, and herbs. Honey pancakes covered a wide plate. Hugo ate 4 before Zara finished checking the first for poison. Alara sat beside me with her broken shield against the wall. "You need a new one," I said. "You need to stop being stabbed. A shield may help. You cannot have mine. It has a large opening. That is where your head will go if you continue." She cleaned blood from my hand. Her fingers were warm. "In the cellar," she said quietly. "I thought you were a desperate boy chasing money." I was. That was when I saw you. The clinic noise seemed to move farther away. I leaned toward her. Every window shattered inward. Royal knights dropped into the courtyard. White cloaks covered their armor. Golden scales marked their shields. Silas walked through the clinic door without knocking. His red bounty mark offered 200,000 gold. Behind him, new posters appeared on every communication mirror in the city. My official bounty had risen from 5,000 to 100,000 gold. Silas smiled at me. "Ronan, by order of the capital, your money, rank, and legal identity are revoked." Above Sienna, the future countdown changed to 12 hours. Silas lifted the sun furnace control key. "And because you delayed the necessary sacrifice," he said, "we will begin it now." The royal knights entered the clinic. Agnes stood between them and the rescued students. She was 70 years old, carried no weapon, and had flour on one sleeve. "Wipe your boots," she said. The first knight stopped. Silas stared at him. The knight wiped his boots. There were powers that did not require a class. Silas held out his hand to Sienna. "President, come with me. The city requires your authority." Sienna did not move. "You advanced the furnace without my consent. Consent is a luxury during disaster. Then why does the furnace require mine?" For 1 second, his smile disappeared. Zara stood near the broken window. Her pale bow was hidden behind her coat. Alara's damaged shield rested against the wall. Boris and his guards were outside, surrounded by royal knights. We could fight. We would lose the clinic and everyone inside it. I rose with one hand pressed to my bandaged side. "I will go," I said. Alara looked at me. I tapped the blue cord on my sword twice. It was our training signal for follow the target, not the fighter. She understood. Silas's officers locked silver restraints around my wrists. The chains cut me off from my storage and reduced my strength by half. "Your system cannot pay a dead man," Silas said. "It has never complained about my health." He took Sienna and me toward the great arena. Royal knights lined every street. The communication mirrors showed my wanted poster beside images of the damaged barrier. Citizens watched from windows. Some shouted that I was a traitor. More shouted that Gareth's records had proved the capital was involved. Silas ordered the mirrors muted. The crowd kept shouting. Truth had escaped the tall building. At the arena, 10,000 people filled the seats. Most had been ordered there for an emergency announcement. Others came because every gate out of the city was closed. The lower district appeared in the mirrors. Red lines spread beneath its streets. Families stood outside their homes while royal officers blocked the bridges. 7 feeder towers had opened. The sun furnace hung above the arena floor like a red metal sun. Sienna's control throne stood beneath it. Silas led us onto the platform. "Citizens, on Lord, on a fait Edia." Hej då, så tack här traitor då hasn't me as the best and captured. The response was not the cheer he expected. Someone threw a red bounty cake. It struck a royal shield and broke apart. Hugo had excellent aim. He stood in the western seats beside Cole and Elise. Toby was 2 rows behind them, with a covered food cart. Boris occupied the gate with his guards. Agnes sat among the rescued students. Ilara and Zara were not visible. That meant they were working. Silas forced me to my knees before Sienna. The criminal class has corrupted the girl, he said. He has convinced her to reject the only action that can save us. He turned to her. Activate the furnace. Sienna looked at the lower district in the mirrors. A little girl held a wooden horse beside one feeder tower. Her father stood between her and the royal officers. The red mark above Sienna burned brighter. The system restated the reward, 500,000 gold, 15 levels, a unique skill called Future Verdict. All I needed to do was defeat her before she pulled the lever. Silas leaned close enough that only we could hear. I know about your marks, he said. The Red Veil studied system holders for a century. Kill Sienna, take the reward, then you will be strong enough to survive what comes next. You arranged her future crime. I arranged a choice. Your system judged what she would choose. Why sell the reserve mana? A controlled disaster creates obedient cities. The Golden Province paid well. The church will save the survivors. People are most loyal after you rescue them from a fire you started. His motive was not madness. It was a business plan with screaming in the expenses column. I looked at Sienna's mark. 500,000 gold could raise me beyond level 50. It could give me a power that judged future crimes. It could make every later hunt easier. Sienna put her hand on the lever. The countdown reached 10 minutes. The system asked whether I accepted her bounty. No, I said. Silas smiled. Then you die poor. I currently have 62,300 gold. The capital seized it. My system disagrees. The first feeder tower exploded, not from the furnace, from below. White mana rose instead of red. The mirror showed Boris pulling a repaired control lever beneath the dungeon gate. His guards cheered. The second tower changed color. Cole and the rescued students had connected it to the dungeon core. The third turned white. Agnes stood in the clinic channel with both hands on a healing crystal. Silas spun toward the mirrors. Why stop them? Moved toward the exits. A students blocked the aisles. At the fourth tower, Toby opened an old kitchen pipe and poured 3 barrels of cooking oil into a frozen gear. The mechanism began turning. Hugo stared at the mirror. Was oil part of the plan? Toby shrugged. It is now. The 5th and 6th towers remained red. Silas laughed. You need all 7. A pale arrow crossed the arena and struck the 5th control chain. Zara stood on the highest roof. The arrow carried a silver line to Elise's account crystal. Stored mana flowed through the line and turned the tower white. The 6th tower was beneath the royal guard station. Ilara crashed through its roof. She carried a new shield taken from Gareth's armory. 3 royal knights followed her through the opening. She landed on the control wheel, turned once, and transcended spirits but are unsager and drove the shield into the locking gear. The 6th tower changed. 10,000 witnesses stood and shouted. Only the 7th tower remained red. It was beneath the arena platform. Silas placed the furnace key into his golden chain. Red armor formed around him. The plates resembled a judge's robes made from metal. A faceless helmet closed over his head. His level rose from 52 to 60. My restraints tightened. Pull the lever, he told Sienna, or I will send the furnace into the lower district without you. The mark above her showed the exact moment. She would look at the 6 repaired towers. She would believe they were not enough. She would choose certainty. She would kill 7,104 people to save 52,000. Future guilt was not a curse placed on her soul. It was a road built from fear, false information, and one final decision. Roads could be blocked. I activated Chainbreaker through the silver restraints. The skill entered the control spell. Pain burned from my wrists to my shoulders. The chains had been designed by the church. Breaking them cost nearly all my mana. One link cracked. Silas turned. I used Iron Pulse before the restraints released. They crushed inward for 1 heartbeat and failed to break my bones. Then the control chain snapped. I stood. Silas struck me across the arena. I hit the ranking board and fell beneath my own #1 position. The board flickered and tried to remove my name again. Make a decision, I told it. Students laughed despite the furnace above them. Sienna's hand remained on the lever. The 6 towers are holding, I shouted. The 7th is still feeding from the district, she answered. Then give me 1 minute. We have less than 3. I work better with simple numbers, Silas charged. The bounty mark above him showed red threads extending to every feeder tower, every false account, and every officer blocking the lower district. The accepted crimes were not separate. They were one completed plan. The trail always led to the target. Now it also showed what the target controlled. I took my first step towards Silas. He released golden blades from both arms. Second step, I moved between them. Third, a blade cut my shoulder. Fourth, Alara entered the arena and blocked a strike meant for my spine. You are late, I said. I stopped for a shield. Silas hit it. The new shield bent in the center. That was a short purchase. Keep moving. Fifth step. Zara's arrow struck Silas's helmet. It did no damage, but a silver line wrapped around his head and pulled his aim toward the mirrors. Elise activated Gareth's accounts. Silas's confession from the platform began playing through every speaking stone. He had not noticed the record crystal beneath Sienna's throne. His own voice crossed the city. A controlled disaster creates obedient cities. The crowd went silent. Then the lower district answered. Citizens pushed through the royal line. Guards removed golden scale badges and opened the bridges. Parents in the arena pointed at Silas. Nobles who had purchased stolen mana tried to leave and found students blocking the exits. Silas tore the silver line from his helmet. Sixth step. I cut the red thread connecting his armor to the 7th feeder tower. Chainbreaker shattered the outer spell. Silas screamed. The furnace had been using his class as the final lock. 7th step. The world became still. I reached the center of his armor and drove my sword through the golden scales. Alara struck behind my blade. Zara's last arrow hit the pommel. The armor opened. Silas stumbled out wearing a white ceremonial robe and 1 golden sock. The other sock remained inside the armor. 10,000 people saw it. Toby's voice rose from the stands. The capital has cut the clothing budget. Laughter crashed over Silas. He had arrived as the voice of divine judgment. Now every mirror in the city showed 1 bare foot. His face twisted. He reached for Sienna's lever. I caught him. He was still stronger than me. His fist broke 2 of my ribs. He dragged us both toward the throne. The furnace countdown reached 10 seconds. Sienna looked at the lower district. 6 towers were white. The 7th flickered between red and gold. Silas shouted, "Pull it!" 9 seconds. You cannot risk 52,000 lives. 8. A president must choose the greater number. 7. Sienna closed her eyes. The red mark showed her future hand moving. 6. She opened her eyes and looked at me. You gave up 500,000 gold for this chance? Please do not make me regret my financial plan. 5. Sienna pulled her hand away from the lever. The giant red mark shattered. 4. Its pieces became white sparks above the arena. The 7th tower turned white. 3. Power flowed from the Academy Reserve, the Dungeon Core, the emergency crystals, and thousands of voluntary class badges raised by students in the stands. 2. The sun furnace changed from red to gold. 1. The demon gate closed. Silas stopped fighting. Every communication mirror displayed the lower district. The people were alive. The little girl still held her wooden horse. Sienna's future bounty was gone. I received no gold, no levels, no unique skill. I had never been happier to earn nothing. Silas tried to crawl beneath the platform. Hugo pointed at him. The divine judge is escaping. 10,000 heads turned. Silas froze. I pulled him back by his ceremonial robe and placed him before Sienna. The hunt is complete. The system counted 10,842 witnesses and confirmed Silas's public defeat. My level rose from 35 to 50. My strength increased from 68 to 100. My speed rose from 76 to 110. 200,000 gold entered my storage. My balance became 262,300 gold and 2 copper. My 5th major hunt was complete. The 3 paths returned. Heavenly Hunter offered pursuit. Demon Pursuer offered power. Judge of Criminals allowed victory through capture, exposure, or prevention. Killing would never be the only path. I chose Judge of Criminals. Silver light crossed my coat. The broken blue cord on my sword became a white and red seal. My wounds closed enough for me to stand without holding my side. The ranking board stopped flickering. It restored my name at number 1. Then the city warrant board added a new title, Royal Judge Hunter. My name spread from the arena into the streets and across the lower district bridges. People lifted red cakes, academy badges, kitchen pans, and one wooden horse. Sienna ordered Silas and the remaining loyal knights arrested. Boris removed the golden chain from his neck. Elise sealed the account books. Agnes reached the arena floor and hit me with her medical bag because I had reopened my side. Zara approached after the officers took Silas away. She held the black wanted papers showing my face. "My system still offers 10,000 gold," she said. "That feels low now. It changed the future crime. It says you may kill 30,000 people, not that you will. Your system learned grammar." She tore the paper in half. "My contract is suspended." Ilara rested the bent shield on her shoulder. "Suspended? I do not make permanent promises before dinner." Toby heard her. Dinner became a city event. Long tables filled the academy courtyard. Toby roasted chickens with garlic and herbs until the skin became brown and crisp. He served potatoes cooked in butter, bowls of vegetable soup, fresh bread, and berry pies with dark red filling. Families from the lower district brought cheese, fruit, and jars of honey. Rescued students ate beside city guards. Faculty members carried plates because no one trusted them with authority yet. Hugo placed 5 rolls in front of Zara. "Emergency bread," he explained. She put one in her coat. "I am learning." Sienna sat with the lower district families. No mark appeared above her. She looked tired, relieved, and entirely human. I gave 50,000 gold to rebuild the barrier without living victims. Another 20,000 created a fund for the missing students and their families. I still had 192,300 gold and 2 copper. The 2 copper coins amused me most. They had survived 5 days, 4 major conspirators, 1 divine sock, and several attempts to revoke my existence. After the feast, I climbed to the council roof. Ilara was already there. The repaired city barrier shone over Northgate like a pale blue dome. She handed me a slice of berry pie. "Agnes said you should rest. Is climbing a tower rest? Compared with your week, yes." We ate in silence. The pie crust was warm. Sweet berries stained my fingers. Ilara looked toward the lower district lights. "You were offered 500,000 gold." I noticed. "And 15 levels." I noticed that too. "Do you regret it?" "Ask me when rent is due." She laughed, then leaned her head against my shoulder. "In the cellar, you said Hugo was worth more to Hugo. He has become more expensive since then. You count people strangely." "I count them one at a time." She turned toward me. This time, no window shattered. She kissed me once. It was quiet, warm, and shorter than the battles that had interrupted every previous attempt. Then every bell in the city rang. The night sky turned red. A vast face appeared beyond the barrier. It belonged to a thin man with black eyes and a crown made from ash. Vero, leader of the Red Veil. A bounty mark opened above him. It covered half the sky. The system offered 5 million gold. Vero looked directly at me through the barrier. "Ronan," he said, and his voice reached every street. "Did you truly believe the wanted sign that killed you fell by accident?" My blood became cold. Beside me, Zara's eyes filled with silver light. Her other system announced a new reward of 1 million gold for my immediate death. Varro smiled. "But your first life was the opening bid," he said. "Now the real hunt begins."